For 45 minutes, and my colleague Eric Erickson joins me now. It's been a long time since we've heard language that strong in the United Nations, Mr. Erickson.
It really has been a fiery speech from the president. This was really the first time since Reagan, actually, if you go back, and I don't intend to make that a Reagan comparison, but it actually is the first time since we've been there that we've had a president actually calling out by names some of the more prominent Security Council members for their failures, including Russia and China.
And a direct threat to destroy North Korea. This might very well be the soundbite of the day.
This is going to be the soundbite of the day. Yeah, totally destroy North Korea, calling him Rocket Man on a suicide mission for himself and his country. That is going to be the line. It's the line that already has a lot of people angry with the president on social media. It's the line he intended to give, though, as a wake-up call. I talked to people in the White House before the speech saying that he intended to use the line, "Don't be bystanders in history," to other nations to try to get them on board, and that he intended to use strong language to wake them up to the threat.
He sure did. And he called out North Korea by name. He called out Iran by name, calling the Iran deal an embarrassment to the United States. Does that mean it's on its way to the circular fire?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The president has said he wants to get rid of it, but the State Department keeps renewing it. There's been a lot of people trying to pressure the president to get out of it, despite the State Department renewals. It looks like he may be getting out of it.
No more one-sided deals where the USA gets nothing. That sets the world on notice for future trade negotiations, no doubt. And going to the United Nations as well, I think we've negotiated down to 25% of peacekeeping cost from 28%, but we're still at 22% of the full budget. But he said that'd be a bargain if we have world peace.
Right, very much so. And in fact, he noted in his speech, in more blunt language, that there were parts of the world in conflict and parts of the world going to hell, in his language. And if he wants to do something to rally the world, but as he said, it doesn't really do us good to have human rights abusers in charge of a human rights committee at the United Nations. So definitely wants reform there as well.
What did you make about the direct language aimed at Venezuela? I mean, not just saying, "Hey, we'd like you to restore democracy." He said, "We're prepared to take further action if the current regime insists on their current course in Venezuela."
There was an interesting moment on social media where one of Barack Obama's advisors said, "Didn't you just say we're not going to impose our values on you? Isn't this doing it?" But to the president's point, and points that others have made, is Venezuela has a destabilizing situation where the values they claim to hold are not being held by the president, and we're willing to go in. This is a far more interventionist speech than many people thought they were getting with this president.
Yeah, and just timing-wise, 45 minutes he went. The window is supposed to be 15, but nobody observes that. I think Barack Obama's longest speech I read was 38 minutes to the United Nations.
Right. In fact, one of his advisors told me it was going to be about 45 minutes.
Okay. Well, he made some news today.
He did. Probably the best line was "It's not in Venezuela that socialism's been implemented badly, but that it's been implemented exactly as intended." Got a little bit of laughter from the crowd there. One interesting note here, North Korea boycotted the speech. The Venezuelan delegation sat through the whole thing.
How about that? Also not showing today the leadership of China, the leadership of Russia, the leadership of India, about half the world's population, although, of course, they send emissaries.
Right, and Angela Merkel of Germany decided to campaign. She's up for re-election. As the president was saying what he was saying about North Korea, she was actually in the Baltics saying that only diplomacy can solve the problem.
All right, Eric, so along with the very strong language aimed at North Korea, using the word destroy North Korea, what's the real news that's been made in the past hour?
I think the real news is that he's basically scuttled the Bush and Obama foreign policies, which said we want to impose democracy because it would be stabilizing. He's basically saying, do whatever you want. We'll build alliances on a case-by-case basis, which is a return to more traditional American foreign policy.
You've been listening to Breaking News on WSB Radio. Now it's up to our analyst and you to talk about it the rest of the day. Stay tuned. There's plenty of meat on this bone. We'll check traffic and get back to regular programming on WSB. I'm Scott Slade with Eric Erickson.